graph some equations. We're given the equation or the shortcut, and what we're going to do is put it on the graph and see what it looks like, see what the picture looks like. So I'll start the video and then just explain what's happening, and you should have this same worksheet right in front of you. I'll stop it and pause it every once in a while. But the start value is -2. And I'm going to stop that right away. We know because that -2 in the shortcut is where we put the start value. So that's the counter is at 0 along the y-axis. The operation is -3, or subtract 3 each time. So even though the x values start at -2, we're going to kind of ignore that and just graph where we'd like, which would be the counter just going over 1. So if the counter is 1, we've gone down 3. Now I have to work backwards because I've run out of room for the counter to be 2, so I go back to -1 and -2 and just work my way backwards. And it should create a straight line. So at this point we'll probably stop the video and let you create that line, and I'll check it to make sure you've done that. And then what we'll do is, if we have time, we'll fill in the y values for the counters. And I'm lining up a sticky note on the counter being at -2, and then counting up, and that's 4. That's where I get the y value of 4 when the counter is at -2. When the counter is at -1, then I look up and see where the line goes to, and it goes up to the 2 or the 1, and we're going to see that I'm going to catch that mistake. It really didn't go up to the -1. It went up to the 1. And when the counter is at 1, it goes all the way down to the -4. Now there's another way to find these values rather than using a sticky note, and I'm going to show those to you right now. We can substitute the counter in to the equation. So y equals -3 times the counter, which is -2, plus the start value. So that's 6 plus a -2 is 4. That's where we got that 4. -3 times the counter of -1. We always add in the start value, so that's 3 minus 2. That's how I know that I've got 1, and I can fix that mistake and make that a +1 because I wrote -1. There we go, fixing my mistake. And then y is equal to -3 times the counter being 0, and that gives us our start value of -2. That makes sense. And then the final one, we'll put in a counter of 1 and see how we got down to -5. -3 times 1 plus -2 is -5. Okay, let's look at the next one. Our start value is -3, so I go down to the -3. Our operation is just to add 1. If there's nothing in front of the x, that just means to add 1. So I'm just going to add 1 each time as I go over to the right. As the counter increases by 1, then my recursive routine increases by 1. And the pattern continues to the left as well. So this should be a pretty simple chart to fill in. All we have to do is read the chart. So I'm going to speed this one up a little bit. We can stop it when we're taking notes. And this time we're not going to substitute in the values. We'll just go to the next one. Okay, that one started at -1. The operation is to add 2 each time. So I'm going to go up 2 as I move the counter over to the right 1. And just to continue that pattern, I go down 2 as I move to the left and create that line. Notice how I'm checking the counter of -2, -1, and seeing what the y value is. That's our start value. Then it gives us kind of a strange one, 2.5. So notice I put a point between the 2 and the 3, and it seems to go right up to the 4. So I'm going to put a question mark there. I think it's 4. And we'll check it. We'll put it in, we'll substitute it in. 2 times the counter of 2.5, and then we subtract the start value, so that's equal to 5 minus 1, and sure enough we get 4. Okay, the rest of this I'm going to just start some of these for you and then have you finish them. I'm not going to fill in the table on this. I'll start the next one. Goes down 2 or subtract 2. So I'm going to go down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1. And then you can try to fill in that table. And I'm just going to put the first point on there and then let you work from there, and then we'll check it in class.